And today's journey is celebrating Cerebral Palsy Month because I believe, if I remember my notes rightly, Cerebral Palsy Month is in March. And recently we had Tal Talia Flores, who was also a sufferer from cerebral palsy. And today's guest is no exception. She's also an author, she's a business owner, an entrepreneur, and she's got very mild cerebral palsy, so we do apologize it for people who do have difficulty understanding, but if you watch the visual, there will be subtitles available. And she's based in North Carolina, which isn't far away from me. Our guest is a paternal grandmother passed away from early onset Alzheimer's in 2014. So to honor a grandmother's memory, our guest launched multimedia company Fireball Unlimited on March the 13th, 2017. So that is literally a few days away where it celebrates its birthday, which would have been 2 years later that she released a book, which we're going to talk about today. And I say no more because it's her journey, not mine. But we welcome Brittany Lenny Gilbert.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, I am understanding about people with learning difficulties because it's one of my champions I champion for.
Mhm.
Now, I want you to tell me in your own words how your journey began because I touched upon it briefly about your late grandmother, but tell me in your way.
Yeah, uh, like I said, my paternal grandmother had early onset Alzheimer's, which is the Alzheimer's that people get that are 65 or younger. And unfortunately, she was diagnosed with that, and at the time of her diagnosis, I didn't quite understand what Alzheimer's was. Besides, grandma gets upset, grandma forgets things, and so because I am a storyteller, I figured, why don't I try to tell a story that shows people who are 12 and maybe even 10 what Alzheimer's is, so that if they have a loved one, they can understand how to help and they understand what's going on.
Yeah. And you touch upon it in such a way that is useful because I had my late grandfather, he died in 2005. He had Parkinson's, which is nothing related to Alzheimer's, but
Mhm.
I was only 22 when he died, and I was still young. I hadn't experienced death so close to me up to that point. Yes, I had my uncle who passed away when I was like 8 years old, but no one close as in my grandparents.
Mhm.
So it is good to write something, and this is why we'll be talking about the book in a minute. It is good to talk about something that is close to you because it helps others. And
It it really varies.
it brings back a lot of emotion when you do write. I wrote poems. When you write certain poems that are meaningful, it hits you in such a way, and that's what writing books is like. You write things, and it hits you so powerful.
Yeah.
And the cover, which I'll be using for the podcast cover, I assume that's your late grandmother in the picture with you. And I can just see the love there, and that's what I like. It's emotional. I've read it because I was given a free copy. It's like it really. impacts in such a way. And I don't say that often because I have to remain impartial, but
Thank you, thank you.
but it does, and that's what I like. So your relationship with your grandmother, I can tell it's full of love.
It was, she was always there. She came to visit a lot. She lived quite a good distance
Hmm.
from me and my mom, but she made that extra effort to come see me as much as she could.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
And I can see that emotion in you, and I can hear it in your voice that she meant that something to you. And that's what I like because, like I said, I was close to my grandparents. I feel that. So it's good. So going into talking about multimedia company Fireball Unlimited, which is where they can get in contact with you and on your website.
Mhm.
What was the inspiration behind Fireball Unlimited?
Yeah, the name Fireball, usually people think about something destructive and bad and, just tumultuous. But for me, Fireball, it speaks to my ambition and my drive to get things accomplished, whether it's a book, a movie, college, being Fireball just says I get up and I get it done.
Mm, that is a good way of looking at it because it's, like you said, it's impactful. It's like, I want to get it
Yes.
done. I get it done now. I don't want to do it tomorrow. I want it done now. And that shows a strong, resourceful, powerful person. And you're only young, so I got to remember that. You are still young. So,
Yeah,
and it's like I'm 41, old. I know. But the thing is, it reminds me of how I was when I was growing up. When I was your age, it's like, I want it done. I want it done now. And I
yeah.
did. I still do things like that. And it's like, why? But the fact is, yes, you do it and you do it in such a way. And this company with your book, you've done it. Now you could write again more about it. You can carry on with a series and write another book. I don't know. Hopefully you will.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it's good to write about things. While it's in your memory, write about it.
Because you still have the emotion.
Yeah.
Because if you wait until, oh, I don't feel the love or I don't feel the ambition to do it, it it won't come across as sincere. It'll come across kind of forced.
Hmm.
And so I try to write things when not just when I feel it, but making sure that the reader, or if it's a movie, the audience, they can feel what I feel.
Yeah. So they feel alongside your journey in that
Right,
thing.
exactly.
And part of the grieving process is to write about things. And writing, like I said, does help because it helps you cope. It helps you grieve. Like
It
there's a
does.
like there's a poet, who I attached to the end of these podcasts recently, and her name's Amy. She writes poetry in such a way that you can tell it's impactful because she's coping with what's happened in her life. So she writes her poems to help people to know that this journey that she's going on is helping her because she's talking so passionately about what she writes in poems.
Right.
And again, for people watching, listening, it is at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned for that, as well as another from our other friend we got. His name is, trying to remember his name offhand, Tim, another author. He wrote storybooks for people written in the form of an ambulance person, someone in the ambulance. So, two exciting things to look forward at the end. But you, and like I said, it goes for me as well. When I get inspired, you write it because it's fresh in your mind.
Mhm.
Like you wrote this, yes, it's in paper or ebook, whatever. It's good, but there's still memories that you got in your mind that you can easily write a sequel to.
Yes.
And that, like I said, I support that. I'll go for it. If it was offered to me to say, this person wants to write, if Brittany wants to write a second book, I say go for it.
Thank you.
Because there's memories you wrote as this character, Rudy and Me, as it says, and that's what we're going to call the podcast as well. But there's always memories that will come into the mind. So why
They
not?
are.
So instead of ignoring them, write them down.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh memories come into mind. Write them down.
Yeah.
So how do you find yourself in your own day to day? Because obviously, suffering from cerebral palsy, do you find people tend to treat you differently, or do you feel the general census of people who do know you understand you?
I think it's a little bit of both. I have a routine when I get up. I have a morning prayer. I read a chapter of my Bible. I work out twice a week to help with my muscle strength. As far as the cerebral palsy, as far as the cerebral palsy goes, but I I have met some people that are treating me differently, but I try not to feed into that because usually there are people that don't know me, but once you get to know me, you can see, okay, she's able to speak for herself. She's able to dress herself. She's able to do a lot of what um, people would consider normal
Mm,
can do. So I don't really worry about people that may not understand.
yeah. And that is the thing that I always look at as well. No matter what ability or disability you have, everyone is unique in their own way, and
Like,
people with disabilities may have disabilities, but at the same time, they are still a unique person.
exactly.
Yes, they may be different, but they not. They the same as us. They just, yeah. It just, uh,
Yeah.
it leaves me frustrated. For example, if I see someone struggling with cerebral palsy, for example, or if I saw someone with autism struggle, I get emotionally worried because I don't like how certain people are towards those people.
I understand. Yeah.
It's like you see people treat, I say able people because that's the only way I can say it neutrally. You see able people treat disabled people like crap.
Yeah.
And that's the nicest way of putting it. I don't want to swear because I do have swearing, but I don't want to swear.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, it just leaves me feeling really bummed that people who are able treat people who are disabled wrong, and it just makes me mad to think that it happens. But sadly, it does, and I accept that. Like I said, I know people who've got autism. I know people who've got Down syndrome. I know people who've got cerebral palsy, because obviously I mentioned Talia.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've heard of Talia Flores.
No, I've never heard of that.
No, well, she's an author. She suffers from cerebral palsy. I forgot the exact words, but she's an advocate for cerebral palsy.
Oh,
And her website is stomping on, I forgot what her website is, but I know it's stomping on stomping on. It'll come to me. But anyway, the fact is, she's an advocate for cerebral palsy.
mm-hmm.
You see her journey. I'll make sure when I send you the, podcast across, I'll make sure you get a copy of where she's available, and it'll be in the description as well for other people, or in the title card, wherever I put it. But she champions for cerebral palsy. She's been through a lot. She's been through real hell and back.
Yeah.
And when I first met her, she was in a really dark, dark place. She's now out there. She's written books galore. And I mean, she's written books. And if you see when like I said, her books are on Amazon as well and most bookstores. And she writes it in such a way that makes you follow her journey. So there is good people out there. But when you get people coming in and knocking you sideways, how can you remain positive? And like I said, this is just to celebrate Cerebral Palsy Month, me interviewing you today as well as your book.
Yeah.
And I just find how you are unique compared to some others. Talia is unique in her own way. Don't get me wrong, she's really unique and a very strong advocate. And I think you'd be good talking to her, so I will recommend you talking to her. But, and it leaves me speechless to say, but people who are able should not treat people who have got cerebral palsy or any kind of disability. They should treat them equally.
I agree. I agree. Unfortunately, that's not always the case.
Ex-
That's not always the case. But,
Exactly.
I do meet a lot of good people that are helpful with patient and caring. So for me, the good outweighs the bad.
I know, I feel that, and you've got a good one listening to you now. That's how I look at it. You listening to me, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to talk as slowly as I can so you can understand that I'm not going to be too good for talking like this.
It's okay.
And that's the way I am. When it comes to certain circumstances like this, I am slow. I am patient, and it's a thing I've learned. You've got to be slow and patient. You've got to be, like I told you before I started recording. Just think I'm next to you in a coffee shop. Obviously, I could say the main brand, but there is other brands available, and we're not sponsored by them, so we're not saying the name.
Yes.
So you want to venture into filmmaking.
Yes.
You furthered your career by turning your book into a short film,
Yes.
and that's one thing I will want to find. But where is that film available?
The film is available on the same site as the book, which is Fireball UNLTD.com.
Okay, and I'll make sure that's in. Like I said, Brittany's contact details will be in the description, which
Yeah.
is Fireball UN Limited Ltd.com, and she's also available on Instagram at
Yes.
Fireball UN Ltd. Now to end this lovely podcast, because trust me, it is lovely, and I could go on and be passionate and advocate for you
Me
all
too.
day. But people who are on a journey, because I know disabled people will listen to this as well.
Mhm.
What would you say to them to help them on their journey?
I think my advice would be to find something that you like, find something that brings you joy, and be patient with yourself. It might take longer to do something. You might need a little extra help, which we all need help in some capacity. So I think it's just find something you like and be patient with yourself.
I agree totally. And I hope people will take that heed because it's
Yeah.
not about you've heard of the story probably about the tortoise in the air. It's not,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not about the fastest one. It's
No.
about the person who takes their time.
Yes.
And that's a poem I always read as well. It not goes to the faster person, it goes to the person who thinks they can.
Yeah, the person that took their time and research and ask questions, that's the person that has the most success.
I agree totally, and I really do agree with that. But Brittany, thank you for sharing your journey with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and may your continued success carry on. Like you said, you've done a film, you've done a book, which is
Yeah.
available through fireballartunltd.com.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our thanks to our guest there for a wonderful journey. And now a couple of messages to share with you.
Hello, I am Amy Harrison. I'm the author of the book Feline Warrior Part 1 and Part 2, a fictional story that is written in a poetic format that is based on real-life events that could happen to anyone and intended only for relatable purposes. This story claws into Catgirl's past abuse. Catgirl is human and part feline, but truly a warrior who can handle anything because she is strong and fierce. She has been taken advantage of for far too long. Join her on her journey as she reaches freedom. Here are some poems from Feline Warrior. Tears flow. I no longer know what to do. I am no longer who I once was, and it is because I made a choice to use my voice, and that is okay, because what I had to say was true, unlike me and you. Now I see. I am free. I am me. I am Catgirl. Ultimately, be you. Always stay true. Do what you want to do, because every day is made new. If you want to read more, visit the link in the description. Meow at you later.
Music by Erica R. from Pixar Bay.
Tim Parsons. The narrator is Kate Barton. Director and producer, Darren Street. Tim Parsons would like to thank family and friends for their support with the paramedic Chris venture. The series is dedicated to the memory of his father, Reverend David Parsons. Copyright Tim Parsons 2020, all rights reserved. Unauthorized use, copying or sharing of this audiobook is strictly prohibited. This has been a Voice Reel studio production for Tim Parsons.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I've just been listening to the Paramedic Chris children's books on audio again, and I just love it because they've given a tribute in one of them to my dad as well, who passed away a few years ago. I love audio books, and it's great to walk around, and it's great to sit at the computer, if you're out jogging or wherever, to listen to them as well. All 4 of the Paramedic Chris children's books are available on audio book from Amazon. Go and take a listen to them. You won't be disappointed. You'll hear what happens when a community pulls together and supports one another. The best thing is to pop over to my website, paramedicchriskidsbooks.org, and you'll see the links on the shop page. Keep safe, everyone, and thank you for being you.
The Journey podcast explores stories of personal growth, challenges, and life-changing moments. Each episode dives into unique experiences, offering insights and inspiration for listeners navigating their own paths. I believe everyone has a story worth sharing. If you'd like to share your journey with David and others, email your story to wisewords1983@reborn.com, and it may be featured in a future episode.